Introduction to the unit and significant figures. Example 1, 200. Zeros at the end of a number are not significant if we don't have a decimal. So since we don't have a decimal, the zeros at the end are not significant, so 200 has one significant figure. 3,500. Again, two zeros at the end of the number. Since we don't have a decimal, they are not significant, so we have two significant figures. And 700,000. Again, we have 5 zeros at the end of the number. There is no decimal, so those zeros are not significant. So that means 700,000 without a decimal has one significant figure. 20,001, I don't have any zeros before or after the number, so that means everything's significant. So I have 5 significant figures. 6,200,000, I have 5 zeros at the end of the number. There isn't a decimal, so they are not significant. So that means I have 2 significant figures. 801,300, 2 zeros at the end of the number. Since there isn't a decimal, zeros at the end are not significant, and that leaves us with 4 significant figures. 200, I have 2 zeros at the end of the number. They are significant because I have a decimal, so I have 3 significant figures. 200.0 has 3 zeros at the end of the number, and when I have a decimal, zeros at the end are significant, so I have 4 significant figures. 3.050, again I have 1 zero at the end of the number. I have a decimal, so that zero is significant, so everything is significant in this number, so I have 4 significant figures. 0.007, zeros in front are never significant, so that means I have 1 significant figure. 0.0020, zeros in front are never significant. I have a 0 at the end of the number, and it is significant because zeros at the end are significant when there's a decimal. 1.0020, I have a 0 at the end of the number. There is a decimal, so it is significant, so I have 5 significant figures. 910.0, I have 2 zeros at the end of the number. I have a decimal, so they are significant, so I have 4 significant figures. 910, I have a 0 at the end of the number, no decimal, so it's not significant, so I have 2 significant figures. Zeros before a number are never significant, so that leaves me with 2 significant figures. Zeros at the end are significant when we have a decimal, so 9,100. When there's a decimal, those zeros are significant, and I have 4 significant figures. 0.910, zeros in front are never significant. The 0 at the end is significant because there is a decimal, so I have 3 significant figures. 9,010, 0 is at the end. We don't have a decimal, so it's not significant, so that gives us 3 significant figures. 0.4320, zeros in front are never significant, and the 0 at the end is significant when there's a decimal, so I have 4 significant figures. Zeros in front are never significant, so that leaves me with 3 significant figures. I have a 0 at the end, no decimal, so it's not significant, so 2 significant figures. I have 2 zeros at the end. They are significant when there's a decimal, so I have 3 significant figures. 40 decimal, I have a 0 at the end. There's a decimal, so it's significant, so I have 2 significant figures. And with 700, I have 2 zeros at the end. Since there is no decimal, zeros at the end are not significant, and that leaves me with 1 significant figure. Start working on that assignment